Downright excellent news for the 49ers this morning. Brock Purdy is in the building to begin the off-season program. So I had to pick a cool spot. This is the old railroad that used to run through San Francisco, through the Mission to San Jose, and near where Levi's Stadium is today in the 49ers facility. That's where I'm headed soon. That's where Brock Purdy is. At the very least, this means that he's a tremendous leader, because obviously that contract is not yet finalized. But Purdy, even though he didn't have to be there, it is voluntary, decided to be there. And you know what else he's done? He's worked with George Kittle in Nashville this offseason. He's worked with Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing in Jacksonville this offseason. So Purdy is committed to his teammates, committed to getting better. And this, I think, echoes and really validates what he talked about right when the season ended. He wanted to get to work. He didn't want any distractions this offseason. He's letting his representation handle the contract negotiations with the 49ers, and he is putting in the work himself. When we saw the Jacksonville video the other day, it seemed that Purdy had bulked up a little bit, and that's what we said last offseason, and that's exactly what you want out of your quarterback in the offseason. There's just not as much time to lift over the course of the regular season with all the film study that has to go in, and you have to put in the true physical gains over these months. And I think that Brock Purdy is doing that, and he's also putting in some gains with his teammates. Meanwhile, George Kittle is not going to be at the offseason program, or at least the start of it, right? This is just the voluntary portion. These actually are not yet OTAs. Those do not begin until May. Kittle has been at OTAs in the past, and he also is looking for a new contract. Like Brock Purdy, George Kittle is entering the final year of his deal. It's what we call the lame duck year of his deal. And like Brock Purdy, George Kittle is an A-list player that doesn't want to play on the lame duck year of his deal. He wants more security moving into the future, as is customary in the NFL. According to Mike Silver, the two sides are still relatively far apart in talks. I think that one of the necessary dominoes, though, has already fallen, and that was the contract for Trey McBride, the star tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. He's at $19 million per year. Kittle's deal that he signed back in 2020 for $15 million a year, that was the high water mark at the time. Remember, Kittle shattered the ceiling of the tight end market. He paved the way for all these guys to be over $15 million. Well, now that McBride's at $19 million, I think that the path should be clear for Kittle to ultimately get up to $20 million, but it's going to be a little bit of a negotiation, because you've got to figure out the guarantees too. George Kittle, no longer on the right side of 30. He's 31 years old now, and it's not like you're giving a second contract to somebody who's just finished his rookie deal. He's still playing at an extremely high level. I think that he's still in the middle of his prime, but just the business side of things, the pragmatic side of things for the 49ers has to look at the age and has to make sure that they construct a deal that is that takes into account the fact that George Kittle is now going to be on a third contract and not a second contract. So that makes it a little bit more complicated, but I'm sure the 49ers and Kittle will reach agreement. And to Kittle's credit, he hosted Brock Purdy over in Nashville. So Kittle's obviously still very committed to that rapport with his quarterback. And now the 49ers just have to figure things out contractually over the coming months. Fred Warner was the third major star who is in line potentially for a new contract this offseason. Although Warner's situation is different. It's not a lame duck situation. He still has 2 years left on his contract. So he'd love a new one. The 49ers, I think, would love to give him a new one, because this season Fred Warner's cash flow is like 22 or 23 million because of the buyback bonus that I talked about yesterday. But next season the cash flow will be down to about 18 million pouring into his bank account. And the top of the linebacker market currently is 20 million annually for Roquan Smith. So given the fact that Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football, he's going to want that cash flow to be number one when you compare it to the average per year rankings list. And this year it is, next year it isn't. The 49ers can get out in front of this. If Warner is willing, it takes two to tango to sign on that dotted line. And if they do get out in front of this, then he also will be re-signed this offseason. You know what's I don't think it's crazy, but for some people it might be crazy because they haven't been following this close enough and they keep on talking about cap versus cash issues. Well, once the 49ers finalize this business, especially for Purdy and Kittle, because those are the two that are going to happen this offseason, they're going to be a top 3, maybe even a top 2, maybe even a top 1, maybe the top spending team again in all of football. So they have obviously reallocated money this offseason. They've taken it away from B-list veterans, guys who they cut like Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins, but those A-list pillars are going to get paid. And Brock Purdy is confident in that. That's why he is in the building. He's letting the agent negotiation process run its course, and he's going to continue working with the 49ers on the field as that happens. But Purdy is confident that this is, it's going to end up somewhere in the 50s or even the 60s, right? It's going to be over $50 million per year, no matter what a lot of misinformed people are saying in this situation. And Kittle's probably going to be at $20 million per year. You put those two expenditures together and you'll look at the cash flow in year one with the signing bonus and the guaranteed money coming both of those players' ways in 2025 once this is done. And once we do figure that out, I think that the 49ers spending total for 2025, salary spend, is going to be ranking back in that top 5. So just fascinating how the circle of financial life has worked over the course of this offseason for the 49ers. Now, part of what San Francisco has striven to do is not overpay aging players this offseason. That's you go back to free agency, and that's why you saw those cuts for the 49ers. But Davante Adams was available, and we could remind you again that I'm standing on the train tracks. This is Jury Commons Park in San Francisco. The train used to bisect the Mission all the way down to the peninsula, San Jose, and of course Palo Alto on the way. Davante Adams from East Palo Alto, he was available there after the Jets released him. The Rams signed him. According to Mike Silver, the 49ers told Davante Adams they were interested, or told his agent they were interested, but they didn't want to pay retail price. They wanted to pay the wholesale price. Adams ended up signing with the Rams for $22 million a year. This is a 32-year-old receiver for $22 million a year. And the 49ers, at the time, I said they were interested. I surmised that about $15 million might have been the peak offer for the 49ers. So I'm not sure if that was the number, but based on everything that we've seen financially in this game of Tetris around it, that does make a whole lot of sense. So, a couple things about this. I think it's good the 49ers didn't overpay for an older receiver. They're trying to get younger. They're trying to get faster. They're trying to get healthier. Yes, Davante's still a productive player, but the 49ers have younger, promising talent coming up through the pipeline. They don't have to be done at this wide receiver position yet. Amari Cooper is still available, and that's point B for me. Depending on how this draft goes, and obviously there are receivers like Elikai Manor, Kyle Williams in this draft, Jordan Watkins out of Ole Miss, but depending on how this draft goes, the 49ers can still look to fill that receiving need that they feel they may have, but they can do it at their price, right? They didn't feel the need to go over $20 million for Davante Adams, who's from East Palo Alto, who would have been interested in coming back here to the Bay Area. This is according to Mike Silver, by the way. He has a nice article up on The Athletic interviewing Davante Adams. But they didn't feel the need to do that. They will look at how this draft pans out with the 11 picks coming their way. Can they bolster the receiving room in a way that they like? And if they can't do that through this draft, or they don't do that adequately through this draft, somebody like Amari Cooper might still be in play. And we know that because they were interested in adding a veteran through the Davante Adams route, but at a lower price. Cooper, by the way, is younger than Davante Adams. He's 30 years old, and, well, it probably will be a little bit cheaper. He's coming off like a 547-yard receiving season in 2024. So perhaps the 49ers would be able to find that comfortable $15 million range with somebody like Amari Cooper if they so decided to proceed. Anyway, That's the morning update. Brock Purdy is in the 49ers building. Fred Warner has already been there. He was there last week. We saw that picture of Warner with Chris Paul Jr., linebacker prospect. Draft is coming up, and I am headed down to the South Bay. Too bad I can't take this train. It's no longer here. It's a beautiful park instead. Everybody take care.